Hi, I'm Becca, and today we are following Shoal Creek from its head down to Lake Austin where it finishes. Right now we're going to look for the spring that starts the creek. I've never been here before, behind Extended Stay America, but according to the internet, this is where the creek starts. My qualifications: I'm a geologist. I have a master's in geology on Venus, which is not at all okay. I thought my qualifications are kind of interesting because it's like Venus isn't at all related to Earth. Usually water is downhill, so we're gonna go downhill to look for the water. My grandma says she can find a spring with a willow, like a switching willow, I think, and she like puts the willow in front of her and then says it moves her towards the water, but I think she's lying. Would you build your house on a spring? I had no idea this was here, but I'm also not surprised. This is not, that's the road. No spring. I feel like if you live in the woods, they would know where it is. So if we find someone, we can ask them. But this fort situation is kind of awesome. Like someone put a lot of work into it. We've gone full circle. So let's just look over there and then maybe give up. Maybe it's just dry right now. This is what the map said, is that it goes under Mopac and then it goes along the strip mall over there, and then it becomes a real creek. So we didn't find the spring, except it is spring. So on to the next location. Come with me. Okay, we are on a tributary of Shoal Creek. As you can see, there's water. A tributary is a smaller stream that flows into the big stream. And if we just go over to that bridge, we'll see the big stream. Bluebonnets. Bluebonnets are the state flower of Texas. Don't pick them, you'll get shot. Here, you can see the small stream joining the big Shoal Creek. And I think the most important thing to note here is that it's quite flat on either side of the creek. There's no bluffs. The stream bed is pretty much on par with the surrounding landscape, which signals that this is a floodplain. So maybe you shouldn't build houses in it. Now we're gonna follow Shoal Creek Boulevard, which is a boulevard that follows Shoal Creek. This is further south. As you can see, there are huge concrete walls and limestone embankments on either side of the creek. That's because we're pretty far down the creek, so there's been a lot of area for stormwater to collect, and at this point, water levels can get quite high during storms. So you need really tall walls to keep the neighborhood from flooding, which isn't natural, but that's what we've decided to do to deal with it. And as you can see, the creek is basically dry right here. There's no water visibly flowing on the surface, but usually there's water flowing through kind of like the gravel at the base of the creek. And we have a bridge. Let's go get on the bridge. Oh, scary. There's basically a levee that's been constructed between the creek and the park. So there's this big hill of dirt that they put here and this massive wall to keep flooding from going in the park. Kind of unfortunate because the sediment from flooding can actually be good for the land. It makes it more fertile, but I guess we're not farming, so it doesn't matter. I don't know if this is true, but my mom told me that there used to be houses here that washed away in a big flood. They got carried down the creek. So the creek's over there, but you can't see it right now. Oh, maybe that's what this historical sign is about. It's not at all a historical sign. It's a promotional sign. Future Creekside Forest. Before, there was a drain, and after, there was a prettier drain. This is useful. We started here. This is 183, this is Mopac. Okay, so maybe where we were looking for the spring was wrong. We were looking like around here, but maybe the bigger one is up here. But anyways, we've traveled and now we're here. And our next stop is probably gonna be around here. So let's go look at the creek to see the creek. I mean, yeah, it's full of trash. But for an urban creek, this is nice. And there's, someone was fishing, which I personally would not eat the fish from here. Siders Oaks, site of 1839 home and 1842 massacre of Gideon White. Just Gideon White. I looked it up, only he died. Is it a massacre if one person dies? Or is it a murder? I don't know. I believe it was by the Comanche, the local native tribe of the time. A daughter, Louisa, wed 1846 Edward Siders, for whom oaks are named. These oaks. And you can sit under the oaks. You can have lunch at the site of a massacre. That's nice. We didn't find the springs earlier. This one I know there will be water at. Here we have Cider Springs. As you can see, there's water pouring out of the limestone. Limestone's like a pretty porous rock. And when the limestone has water in it, below this limestone, there's a layer of clay that's really impermeable to water. And when the water hits the clay, it comes out of the limestone because it can't go down any further. So that's where we have springs, and then they feed the creek. This spring is directly below a massive parking lot, so I wouldn't drink it. And a hospital. Interesting, it kind of seems like the spring has rerouted, so this one is just going into the dirt and then going under the sidewalk. But this pool, when I was a kid, this is where the water came out, like right here. And this was full of water. So I guess the spring has moved that way. Not surprising. And you can see we have a little statue. I don't know who it is. It says Winter on the bottom, but I don't think that's a saint. And if you come up here, Noah, you can see there's a tunnel that water would have flown out of. So that's pretty neat. That's caused by water flowing through the limestone. I don't know how far back it goes. Like, I don't know if you could crawl. Oh, it's scary. It's actually scary. It kind of just ends. I think it goes up. That's fun. Yeah, I've never been able to go in here before because it's always had water in it. There's two clear different limestone formations here. The bottom one looks kind of crumblier and the top one looks a lot more solid. And I think the water's coming out along the boundary between the two. Yeah, pretty cool. Both of them, I believe, have fossils in them. So a little later, we're gonna go in the creek bed and look for fossils. Somewhere around here, I'm not exactly sure where, they found a dinosaur. Ooh, ow. They found a dinosaur in the creek bed after a big flood. Like, a bunch of the rocks moved and there was just a dinosaur, like not in pieces, it wasn't like intact, in the creek bed, and now it's in the Natural History Museum at UT. So when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna find a dinosaur and I'm gonna be rich. I never found one. Maybe today. This map is wrong. What? Yeah, this map is wrong. Cider Springs is north of us, and it says we are here, north of Cider Springs, but we were just at Cider Springs and it was north. So this is wrong, don't look at that. This is a little pathway across the creek. It's fun. It's like really fun when you're a kid. But the most important thing here, oh, one time we saw a rattlesnake right here, right here. My sister and I used to swim right here, like up there. We would go swimming. We told our mom that we had just biked through sprinklers and that's why we were wet, but actually we were swimming in the creek, which seemed like a really good idea, and I'm shocked we didn't die. But historically, people did swim in this area. So this behind you, I think they used to call it Blue Hole, and in the 1900s, early 1900s, late 1800s, people would come here and swim, little kids. And now, the city of Austin actually routes sewage down the creek bed. So this is a sewage line, which we'll see continuing throughout the rest of the creek. This pretty much always has water in it. It's never dry. When we were kids, we would climb down this cliff to play, and we had a fort over here, and I named the fort. I was very precocious, so I named it Fort Consciousness. This was Fort Consciousness. It had this like little narrow walkway so that you had to get through here, so it was like a good fort location. Moat on one side. Yeah. There's rock on this side, and then over there it's just dirt. Well, actually it's clay mostly, but this is, I'm pretty sure, a fault where the rock went like this. It was like this, and then it went boop. So the limestone on that side was higher than the limestone on this side. We're further south on Shoal Creek now. You can see the sewage line I was talking about, still going strong right down the middle of the creek. And then to my left, we have this massive bluff, which is a really good example of differential erosion, which is a geology term. Basically, it means that softer rocks erode or get moved away by weathering faster than harder rocks. So you can see the bottom rock has been eroded by the creek a lot faster than the rock up higher. So I wouldn't build anything under this, and I really wouldn't build anything on top of it. You can see there's like fences and stuff up there because it's gonna collapse eventually. But for now, it's really pretty. And you can see at the base, see all the greenery? There's seepage coming out from the rock. So some water's percolating from above. You know the formations that hang from the tops of caves? Because the carbonate that's dissolved in the water, or the stuff that's dissolved in the water, comes out of solution and forms rocks that hang down from cave ceilings. The same thing's happening here, which is pretty cool. This is the 29th Street Bridge. I think it was built in the 30s, but you can see downtown Austin. And whenever there were flash floods when I was a kid, we would come here and we would watch the front wall of the flash flood go down the stream. Very fun. This is a statue that appeared one day and no one likes it. And we don't know what it means. But it's called Mystic Raven, but I've never seen a raven in Austin. And it says it's from 1983, but it appeared here like 2 or 3 years ago. This is Split Rock, supposedly a place where outlaws hid out in the early days of Austin. And down below Split Rock is Turtle Pond. So let's see if we see any turtles. When I was a kid, I was always like, there's no turtle. Oh, a turtle. Oh, and another one. Wow, actually a lot of turtles. Look, Noah. Over there. On the right. There's 2 turtles. Last night when I was doing some research, I discovered there's an oil painting of like this view from like the 1890s or early 1900s or something by some famous oil painter that I will insert name of here. I think he's like German. Don't you feel like this would be a good place to hang out if you were an outlaw? Being an outlaw. Or maybe up there. Whoa. Okay, maybe this is where the outlaws hung out. And the outlaws enjoyed some flavor in their cooking. And we're doing some naughty things. This is where I would hang out if I was an outlaw. Look, there's marble. Marble is what limestone, this rock, turns into when it's metamorphosed, but I don't think there's any naturally occurring marble here. Oh, look, a shell. So, see, that's fun. You'll also notice as we've gone south towards the river that the creek flows into, it's become more like bluffy. There's canyons where deeper cut into the rock. It was really flat where we started. You can see where like waters run through the limestone and made it all holy looking. I don't know, I think the strata are really interesting. The split rock is really interesting. There's usually water in this part of the creek, and it's quite close to where I grew up, so it's one of my favorite sections. I believe this area, after it was like the outlaws' hideout, a little later, there was like a rumor that there was treasure buried or hidden somewhere near here. So like late at night in early Austin, there would be like lights of people digging in the area looking for the treasure. I don't know if anyone ever found it, but I never found it. This is the Janet Fish Memorial Bridge. Pan that way. That's the bridge. Janet Fish built this whole trail by herself. Well, she hired a bulldozer guy. With all her own money, she built the trail with the permission of the city of Austin in like the 50s, I think. So she just like walked it and led the bulldozer. And that's why we have a trail. And then they built this bridge when I was a kid and said it was in memory of her. Before we used those rocks. And then my favorite place to play, off trail this way. This is where we played Hunger Games, like we were gonna kill each other. And how do I get there? I think this way. As you can see, the bridge collects a ton of shit on it whenever it floods. So this is where we would play. The cliff is really pretty. And if you look through here, there's like a valley where this massive boulder, this whole section, has like fallen off of the cliff. When I was a kid, we would climb across this tree. I told Bailey, I was like, if you want to be friends with me, you have to be brave. So you have to climb across this tree to be my friend, which is bullying. We would walk across there. And then that was like our fort on top of this rock. And I guess that's someone's backyard. Which again, horrible place to build a house. You can see the rock is fractured. Right there, there's a fault. Do you see the line? That's pretty cool. Okay, this is the trail, or it used to be. Up ahead, you can see the trail ends very suddenly. So I think in 2018, there was a lot of rain, and then there was a landslide. I know what you're thinking, that's supposed to be California. Well, no, apparently they're in Texas too. The trail just ends. There's supposed to be a fence here, but I guess it's knocked down. So this is the landslide. You can see the fence is fucked up looking, and it slid into the creek. Pretty crazy. And it was actually someone's backyard that collapsed, which kind of a theme I've been reiterating. Maybe don't build on a limestone bluff over a creek. So their house is like, I don't know if someone's living in it or not, but they're like suing the city of Austin for doing changes to water infrastructure in the creek, and they're saying those changes to the infrastructure is what caused the cliff to collapse, but who knows? Into the trail. There's a detour, but we're gonna drive. After the Civil War, General Custer came here with some soldiers to try and, like, you know, make Austin part of America again instead of the Confederacy. They wanted to take over the Pease Mansion, which was lived in by Elijah Pease, governor of Texas. The citizens of Austin would not let them take over the mansion. So they had to camp by the creek, and a lot of them died of cholera and are buried there, but no one knows where the graves are. And I think, like, I don't know, some CEO lives here now or something like that, but you'll see it up here, right here. Look to the right.
To the right, this one?
No, not the brick house, this one, which has a big fence around it. But see, it looks like a plantation, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Pease Mansion. Huge, it's like it takes up like a city block. And they owned all the land in this area and donated Pease Park, which is where we're going now, to the citizens of Austin. This is Pease Park. This is the land that the guy who had the mansion gave to the city of Austin. It was pretty much run down my whole childhood and had a bunch of homeless people in it. Now it's really fancy and popular, I guess. That's the park. Let's go to I want to go swimming. So we made it to the end of the creek. That's the public library. You can see there's a little bridge over the creek, and then it comes down through here under Cesar Chavez Street, down and around that bend and into Lake Austin, aka the Colorado River. Look at that. It's a nice creek. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Kind of tired of it. That's the creek. We reached the end of the creek. Thank you for coming along. Someone might be looking at our spot right now for parking. Yeah, thanks for watching. This has been Shoal Creek. Let's go.